This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, April the 5th, 2022, episode 377. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of Infection, the survival podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can check me out on various social media platforms by visiting my website at nickcraig.com or nickcraig.net, and you can check out my daily political antics by visiting and downloading the Wilmington's Morning News podcast. Of course, if you missed any portion of this program or want to get more information about it, you can visit our website, which is infectionpodcast.com. Joining me, as he does each and every week, is the man that they call Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing very well. And thank you, everyone, for joining us again. I'll get my contact info out of the way. If you want to find me, at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, and whatever else I'm sure rolls its way in the future. If you want to check out my blog, it's biteoftech.com. And, of course, our website, if you go to infectionpodcast.com, make sure you first go to our Discord. And that's where we have ARC servers, we talk politics, we've got health channel, we've got all kinds of things. But there's also a news channel. And if there's a topic that you think we should be covering that we're not, I encourage you to go to put a link in there, and we will review that before the live show. And that way, if it's something that's relevant, we'll talk about it. If you want to listen to or watch the show, you can do that through the Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive links. Those are live and after the fact. But if you're wanting to listen, that is something that we record and then upload to your favorite podcatcher. So select that at the lower right-hand side. We've got all different ways that you can listen. And then if you are going to listen, I encourage you to go to the particular episode that you're going to be listening to, because we have links and built-in players that you can use to listen or watch that, and links for every topic that we discuss, whether it's notes, patch notes, or perhaps links to source material. All of that's in there, and it makes it really easy to follow along, even if you're just listening. So, and if you want to support us, just go to support tab up top or infectionpodcast.com/support, where there's Prime Gaming subs, Humble Bundle, all kinds of different things that people can do to support us for when hopefully we have an in-person meeting gathering again.
Well, I guess we need to start off with that. Speaking of an in-person gathering, well, there is not going to be one this year for typically one of the largest, at least let's call it on the Western, in the Western hemisphere, I guess you call it the largest video game conference, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, which nobody refers to it as, but E3, which has kind of gone through a whole bunch of stuff. I want to say it maybe started in the late 90s or maybe early 2000s when E3 really kind of became a prevalent thing. And for a period of time, up until just a few years ago, Brian, it was the premier gaming event. Everybody was there, the big boys, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Ubisoft, Activision, everybody was there. And over the past I guess you call it maybe 5 years or so, you've slowly started to see larger companies like Sony and Microsoft dip out of the event. Of course, Blizzard does their own thing with BlizzCon. The event has really kind of wilted to a point in which there's not really a whole hell of a lot there. And out of the blue, they announced just a few days ago that E3 2022 is canceled. No virtual, which is what they've done in years past. Completely canned. Nothing. Nothing from E3 this year. Nothing.
What do you think's the reasoning behind this? Do you think it's financial? Do you think there's not enough companies interested? There's too much tension in the world. A lot of companies probably aren't feeling like traveling right now from Europe.
I don't know, and that's what I find so interesting is because if that was the case, let's say it was a travel issue like we've had in years past, which is still a problem, then why don't they do it virtual? They did it virtual last year, and now while it was not your traditional E3, they still did it. They still had all of the things going on in some way, shape, or form. They still put on a show, and that's why I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. And again, it's an odd thing to say, hey, we canceled the event in 2022, but don't worry, we're backing at it on 2023. Now, maybe they're just, you mentioned something, maybe it's the idea that there's just not that much to talk about. So maybe they're just going to take it off for a year and put that into planning for 2023. But they say, quote, E3 will return in 2023 with a revigorated showcase that celebrates new and exciting video games and industry innovations. There is a huge problem, though, Brian. They've lost all of the major publishers and major companies. EA, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Blizzard. None of those companies are there.
Look at Microsoft, who just by themselves can create a convention like this with their products, because they got BlizzCon. They've got all these building people that are into Call of Duty, all of these different groups. They could do a convention, a gaming convention, just with their own products, of giving announcements of things coming for the year. And then they could also invite other people if they wanted to, if they have partners for some reason. E3 is just kind of lost, especially with all the COVID things, having it to where there isn't the in-person. Once people break that routine, it's hard to get it back. And I think that a lot of people who probably were convention hopping usually are people that are more afraid of COVID. I mean, just to be straightforward. And I think that a lot of those people were scared to go to these things. And even when they said, "Oh, we're opening it up," a lot of those people didn't show up. And I think that they're scared they're going to lose a lot on this. If they open the doors, because people aren't going to show up. It's going to make the vendors that do bother to show up not want to come back because it was so bad. I think they just don't want to deal with that. The economy's bad. I think there's a lot of issues right now. And look at the price of gas and food and everything. To send these people out there is just going to be a huge price.
Well, and it is, and I agree with everything you said, but in the same vein, they're saying, well, we're going to redo it for 2023 and it's going to be great. No, I don't understand what's going to change. You're still not going to have the major companies for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it's cost, but the major companies have all decided they don't want to get behind this trade show. Now, I have to believe that there's more behind the scenes than that, because there are other trade shows, Brian, that have existed for well longer than E3. You're going back to the 70s and 80s, industry events that most people have never even heard of, they don't even know exist, that happen year in and year out. If I was guessing, and I have no evidence to back this up, but it's not going to stop me from saying it, I would guess that there is some, and when I say political, I'm not talking about Democrat versus Republican. I'm talking about like inner working politics of the organization E3 that's turning off these companies. I just can't think of anything else that would cause them to all say, screw it, we're not going to go to this big trade show. There's just got to be something about either E3, the organization, the venue where it takes place, or there has got to be something more than just it costs too much. Because let's be honest, for Microsoft and Sony, the cost to go to this, Brian, is meaningless. It's meaningless. There's really no expense. It is a very, for all the money that these companies spend on advertising and marketing, we're not talking about a big expense for them in the grand scheme of things. So I don't necessarily think I just buy in the fact that it's cost. It's got to be something else.
Well, was E3 one that was mostly like press and things that would go to it back in the day?
Yeah, so up until just a few years ago, I want to say 2017, 2018, maybe 2016, you couldn't even go to E3. It was a press-only event, and you had to be media. In the last few years prior to their 2020 E3 Expo, they started allowing individuals to purchase tickets and kind of hybrid it between E3, which has always been a big press event, and then kind of like some PAX stuff too, where PAX, yes, while it does have a press side of it, the big get is the convention floor, where all of the vendors are, where all of the booths are, and where everybody's kind of commingling. E3 didn't have that. They've tried to bring that in. Maybe that's another part of it, is that for these companies, they'd rather be more intermingled or commingled with actual players and their actual audience instead of a stage. And if that's the case, why are they not telling this to E3, and why is E3 not adopting? I mean, literally, with all of the companies that have dropped out, all somebody has to do is come together, and I know easier said than done. All somebody's got to do, and maybe it's the guy from the Game Awards, just needs to come together and get these companies in the same room and say, what do we need to do to get you guys back in person for some sort of event? It doesn't need to be this huge, extravagant thing where you're spending $1 million on a venue and this crazy stage like in years past. But what do we have to do as an industry to get you guys back in some same room or in the same event or the same venue? Because that's incredibly important for an industry, Brian, whether Microsoft likes it or not, or whether Sony or Nintendo likes it or not. Having that cohesiveness in a single venue that is known as the industry event for the year is incredibly important. It still happens with CES. CES has been going on for freaking 50 years. I mean, so I just, there's got to be something else here. There has to be.
Well, and I can't think of anything. I think the whole way that we learn about games has changed in the past 5-10 years for sure.
It has.
Where before they would tell the reporters, right, and the people that were going to record video and everything, they would sit there and tell them about their game, and if they got them hyped about it, they'd go write an article about it. Maybe they do a video on it, and you'd get the Kotakus and all these, the PC Gamer, all these places to then write articles and get hype up for your game because they got sneak peeks at those. Well, once they started letting regular people in there, nobody really cares about what Kotaku's saying because people are talking about it online or recording video of them playing it, over a shoulder like we've done. People are having access to it in a way, and I think the companies are making the information public directly to the internet now, where they used to use the media, the press, but that showed up to these events to funnel it out. And I don't think they need that anymore. So I think the whole use of what E3 went away. And I think they tried to adapt to being, this new type of convention that a lot of these other ones do, where it's the people coming and experiencing it. And then COVID, I just think, threw them for a loop. If that's all they had is people coming and seeing it, and then all of a sudden most of your clientele is scared to come, why are the vendors going to come when it's not a press event anymore? So you can't have a limited number of people show up and give them that information. They have to have either everybody or nothing.
And yes, I agree. The way that we get that information has changed, right? And the idea of an event like this has changed. And while I completely understand that, how does CES still happen? That's kind of where I fall into the line, is that these other major trade events still happen. Or they've got
they probably do it better.
Well, and that's my point.
That's how they've been doing it.
It's just probably not a good show.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I just think they didn't transition well. I think that's what it comes down to. They weren't able to go from something where they tailored it to all this press and kind of catered to them and gave them a really tailored experience, to how do you do that for thousands of people? And perhaps they're not setting up their venues correctly. I went to CES, but I haven't been to E3. I don't know how they do their. Yeah,
it's also in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
which is
there's
everything
that
else
worked
is in
for
Vegas.
when you were wanting industry people there. The industry people lived around there, so they could drive and set up their booths and do all that. You turn around and move it to Vegas, then all of a sudden they have to leave. Vegas is where you host it for the people. If they want it for the people, put it in Vegas where they can get hotel rooms. Not going to Los Angeles.
Yeah,
it's just that's the thing. There's something about it. They didn't transition correctly. Their venue's made for vendors, where most of those people live in Los Angeles and they work in that area, San Diego, whatever. They're close where they can come to it. It's not easy to go and do a convention in LA. I personally wouldn't want to travel there. I mean, that's just my opinion.
So no E3 in 2022. The Game Awards, according to a tweet from Jeff with the Game Awards, Summer Game Fest is still happening in June. The Video Game Awards will also be happening. So there will be a couple of events in that regard, but no E3. They say they'll be back next year. I would not hold my breath on that being the case. So there you go.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think they're just saying that for now, whatever they need to say, to where if it does work next year, for some reason, people seem interested, maybe another convention falls through and all of a sudden that's the next best option or something, leave the door open. But as I think you're indicating, I would not be surprised if next year we hear the same thing. Oh, due to COVID, due to whatever, we can't do the convention this year.
Yeah.
All
there
right.
you go.
Do you have a preference on where we go from here?
Well, if you would slide over your chair for a second, Brian, we would see that you've got an interesting backdrop. Unreal Engine. You are full on shilling tonight. There's got to be. I mean, if Epic cut you a check, I was not part of that, and I feel very much misled. So why do you have an Epic? Why do you have an Unreal Engine background on? What's going on?
All right, so they've released Unreal Engine 5 out of preview. So It is now into an official release. I've got a number of videos. One of them is the State of Unreal. That is, I think, a 45-minute video or something. But it's Tim Sweeney opening up on stage and talking, who I didn't realize was such an awkward speaker on stage. But he goes through and talks about the engine. So that's worth a watch. Also, they've released the Matrix Awakens City.
Hold on. I just found.
Go ahead. Okay.
Dude, it's the definition of awkward.
Okay, but play a little audio so they can hear.
Why is there no audio playing?
So come join us on the journey, and we'll build this future together. Next up, I'd like to introduce Kim LeBerry, CTO of Epic Games.
Hello, everybody. I can't believe it's been 8 years since we shipped Unreal Engine 4.
Oh my God. This is bad. Maybe this is what
anyways.
is happening.
Well, yeah. So, anyways, that video is there if you would like to watch it. But they have a lot of cool things. It's amazing the number of games that are using Unreal Engine that are AAA level games now. But there's a lot of different assets that they have released that are available. So that whole city that they used in that demo, the AI that walks around the city, a lot of cool things are in there. So if you're interested, if you have a powerful enough computer to sit there and try and run it, you can do that. There's also, I have a link that lets you download it from a Google Drive through PC Magazine. I don't know if it's a tweet or something, but you can download one that's already built. So if you just want to try the demo and run around on your computer without installing Unreal Engine 5, you can do that. So it's there's a couple things, and we can look at some various things. One thing, there is a video from CD Projekt Red where they explain why they there's some information about their Unreal Engine 5 choice, but you have to go to the PC Gamer one, and it's an embedded Twitter.
Okay.
So I don't know how well that works for you if you're able to pull it up.
It works great for me. Let's take a look and see what CD Projekt Red has to say.
Our cooperation with Epic has just started. It was the shift towards open world support that brought Unreal Engine 5 to our attention.
So there was one demo that happened last year that was the medieval environment demo, where at one point there's a notice board that looks strangely familiar to things we've done in the past, that has even a sign that says Monster Slayer Wanted. And I'm like, are they trying to tell us, come over to Unreal Engine, look how great your games could look on there? Was that whole demo made with that nefarious purpose? I don't know, but it definitely caught my eye.
Yes, probably.
This opens a new chapter for us where we really want to see how our experience in building open world games gets combined with all the engineering power of Epic.
One of the things that is really important to keep in mind when talking about open world games versus, let's say, more linear games is the possibilities of the things that can go wrong, or the scenarios that you have to consider are exponentially higher than linear games. Players can go in whatever direction that they want. They can handle content in any order that they want, theoretically. And to really encapsulate that means that you need a really stable environment where you can be able to make changes with a high level of confidence that it's not going to break in 1,600 other places down the line.
Unreal Engine is like a toolbox which has a lot of features, a lot of solutions already there that allow teams to just try new stuff. The fact that Unreal is used by a lot of teams already in the world, a lot of perspectives are projected into the design of the tools, and that helps the tool to be way more agile. So all in all, it's a really, really cool technology to prototype and make environments really quickly, really beautiful, and very realistic.
Epic and CD Projekt Red are the two companies that really want to achieve something great. We won't stop just by developing some features. We won't stop there. Yeah, we will continue to work together to achieve something extraordinary in the end.
Cool.
And I mean, one thing, just think, because they have the Witcher series, which the new season is being recorded now, and they're doing that. They're probably doing a lot of the filming using sets in Unreal Engine 5. I'd have to look, but there probably are. And this would be a perfect way for them if they need to use any kind of CGI. They've got assets that they can either pull from the game or use in the game if they create something, because no matter how high resolution it is, you have the ability to throw it into Unreal Engine 5. And usually those assets that they make for film are ultra high realistic. They're not ones that you'd usually throw in a game because they're way too detailed. They're way too realistic. They're way too big. With the new Unreal Engine 5, that allows that to happen. You can use those giant assets and it won't tank the performance. So it'll be interesting to see how much kind of back and forth with the new Witcher that they're going to be releasing. How much of that is tied to the show, and are they going to have it to where the people in the show now look like the characters in the game? More so, but I doubt they'll change. They got to be careful on that because they'll make some people mad if they change some of the characters too much. But I wouldn't be surprised if they had the option with the checkbox, because this is what they've done in the past, to make it to where you use the character from the show and it will look exactly like that person down to the detail. I have a feeling that's where we're going. And so that seems like a good reason. And we've talked about this company and their engine before. They have had this engine and they've been updating it over time. And most of these companies are starting to just realize we're doing so much work just to try to keep up with Unreal Engine, where we could be using Unreal Engine and be cutting our budget a ton of what we're doing, trying to develop our engine and just improve upon the engine that we're trying to keep up with. Right? I think that's the new methodology that a lot of them are taking, and partnering with Epic on this makes it to where Epic will allow some of their employees to work very closely or in the team with the CD Projekt Red employees. So they'll actually have Epic employees there working with them, helping them to integrate it into the engine and do all this. So it's a win-win for a company like CD Projekt Red, because now they can have a game that looks as good as they want without having to try to figure out how to get the budget for it to fix the engine to make it happen.
Yeah. So I think
it'll be pretty cool.
As we mentioned with Microsoft and their kind of, even though some people disagree with their takeover of, the kind of certain aspects of the gaming industry, I think you can draw some same conclusions with Epic and what they're doing with the Unreal Engine. Absolutely.
Yep. They're taking hold of the market. So if you are interested in checking some of this out, we have a number of links in our show notes that you can go through, videos that you can watch. Some of those will take you to an Unreal Engine launcher. You can try installing and messing around with it, looking at some of the different things that they offer, but there's a lot of things.
Brian,
do you want to keep on? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying we've talked a lot about some of some larger topics over the past couple of weeks, but we've actually got some details about some specific games. In this case, some that are being delayed. Do you want to jump into that potentially?
Sure. So Sons of the Forest, first of all,
which is by the way?
Remember The Forest that we tried playing multiplayer and having a horrible time trying to do multiplayer in it. Well, they made a second one to that, which is Sons of the Forest, and it seemed like it had a lot more story. The graphics are really good. There's a lot more depth to it, but that's been delayed to late 2022. So somewhere at the end of this year, and they first announced this back in 2019 that it's going to be the upcoming sequel to the survival game, The Forest, that we've talked about, that we've showed, we've played, which is a very good single-player survival game. There's not a lot of explanation on what to do. You pretty much just start running around and trying to figure out what in the world is.
I think it's come a long way since we've played it, from things I've seen, not recently, but like within the last couple of years. I think the multiplayer support is a whole hell of a lot better than it used to be. But nevertheless, a delay in this. Now, I believe this was supposed to be out early this year. Actually, excuse me, it was intended to launch in 2021. Then the release date was delayed to early to mid 2022, and now it has been delayed again to late.
Yeah, it was supposed to be May, and obviously we're there. So,
well, my question would be, what do you think? What do you think is causing the delay here? I mean, when you've now delayed your game, let's just call it 3 times. What's going on here? Is it a tech issue?
I
Is
mean,
it what's?
I bet they're
what
just
did you have to
probably
think?
they're probably struggling with the remote work. I bet you trying to do some of these things that when you're getting to the end of your game of polish, putting things on the map and doing a lot of that, which changes your whole map size every time you do it and then save it. So if someone does any kind of work, you then have to re-download. There could be a lot of things that just cause the flow of not being in person. That's usually what I've seen causes the delays in this. For them, it could be that they're just struggling. They overpromised, and maybe they're struggling. If I remember correctly, this one's done in Unity. Maybe they're just struggling with trying to hit the vision that they wanted. They don't really talk a lot, and they are definitely trying for something much bigger than an original game. And since they've never been able to do it, maybe they're finding it more difficult than what they originally intended, because their first game was pretty rough at launch. Maybe that's their goal
rough.
is not to be rough at launch, and for them to be able to do that, they're having to put in a lot of extra time. I think it's harder than people think to make a game and to maintain it and to do all this. And the first one, they probably didn't have all the pressure at the beginning of having a release date when they probably announced their first or just released their first one to the world.
I want to make sure we're some level of consistency with how we cover stuff. I am not opposed to game delays. I've made this point many a times. Brian, you've made a similar point as well. I don't think we're opposed to game delays. What at least I'm opposed to is when you just continue to move it back. Until a few days ago, the game was coming out in mid 2022. It is already almost mid 2022. So you waited until the time frame to push it back. Why was this not done January 1 when you obviously knew that this game was not going to be ready to go in, call it 3 months or 4 months, whatever it might be. So I'm perfectly okay with the developer saying it's not ready, we need more time, but I can't stand.
Do you think too the economy?
The
economy could be another reason. If I were a person looking to release a game, and I was looking at the economy right now, where most people, due to food prices and gas prices, are deciding what they're going to spend their money on, I think this is the worst time to release a game.
Well, see, I don't disagree with that, but in the same vein, there is so much money in the economy right now. I mean, you look at what's going on with crypto and NFTs and the stock market, meme stocks. So while, yes, I think there is people that are struggling, this economy is also incredibly pushed up by people buying, weird crypto coins and other stupid bullshit like that. So in one avenue, yes. In the other avenue, until people are currently investing their life savings into pictures of dogs on NFTs and calling that a
and
debt.
who's the demographic for this game? I don't know who, if they've really looked into who's their primary audience. Is it high schoolers? Is it people my age? Is it people your age? I don't know who their primary demographic is. I think that the primary demographic of people throwing money at crypto and doing all that is people your age.
It is, and I think that's the same age for this.
I would think, but maybe they don't think so. Or maybe they're like me, and they only are thinking that people that think like them are doing this. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll get a little more information and actually release, because they haven't even given a specific, just late 2022. There's no specific month even to it. So
and I'll just.
But they're not the only game.
Yeah, and I'll just give one more pushback on the economy side of it. That is a very risky bet to take, because as bad as you might want to claim it is right now, it could be 3 months from now. It could be a literal economic disaster. So that is a very, very tough bet to make, and I'm not sure that they're doing that, but they might be. I don't know. But you're right, they're not the only one.
I'd be looking at the whole field. And here we've got Breath of the Wild 2 also delayed. This is one, my wife played quite a bit of the first one. It was recommended on here. We bought Switches just to be able to play the game, and she loved it. She played through it. But the number 2 has been delayed to 2023. So, this was announced just at the end of March, and so they're putting it out pretty far. And I didn't really see that specific of a launch date past that. Did you see anything? I just saw 2023, the year.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be out this year. Everybody was waiting for it. I mean, you're looking at when Breath of the Wild came out. I mean, it came out right after the Switch came out, so that game has been out since 2017. So you're talking about, while it might seem like a new game, it's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a game that's
they'll be using a lot
5
of the
years
same
old.
assets and engine and things, though. But hopefully they've spruced it up. They did. Okay, later they did commit to spring 2023. That's as narrow as they would get. Spring of 2023. Which
Yeah.
was the
But
first
again,
half.
and this one I'm okay with. They had never announced a date in 2020. Well, I'm okay with all of them, but in just terms of kind of the public perception, they said that they would announce a release date in 2022. They didn't, and in late March they announced they're going to move it to 2023. That's not terrible.
Yep.
Instead of waiting until August or September and going 2023. If you're going to do it in March, do it in March, and I think I'm okay with that. And for the Zelda fans and the Switch fans, I don't think it matters. They will wait. It's a first-party game. It's the only Zelda game on the market. It will be the only Zelda game on the market. Nintendo pretty much can do whatever the hell they damn well please.
Yep.
So,
and then we have a third game from Ubisoft. This is Roller Champions, and this is kind of like a roller derby, Rocket League style, as they describe it, game. And it's been delayed. It isn't the first delay that they've done, but they're doing late spring as well. Now this one for, I think 2022. Are they saying late spring this year? They just said late spring, but I'm hoping they're saying this year.
no, I don't think so.
'Cause
We're already in late spring. Well, here's the thing.
Well, we're starting spring.
Well, true. The game was supposed to be out in 2021, and that didn't happen. So maybe it is late this year. I mean, to announce
because they said that it was supposed to be, it would be out in its fiscal 2022-2023 year,
that's
which
not
ended March 31st. Well, the fiscal years are different. They don't
but
line
the
up to
2023 fiscal year hasn't. We're only in quarter. We're just in quarter 2.
They're saying theirs ends on March 31st, 2022.
Their 2022 fiscal year or their 2021 fiscal year?
They're saying their 2022-2023 fiscal year, which ends on March 31st, 2022, which is what they claim.
Absolutely no
I
sense.
know that doesn't make it. That's why I don't know what year they're talking about, because the fiscal calendars usually aren't off by a whole year plus.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as the end date.
typically your fiscal year will be like in the summer, like June, July,
like
August.
6 months off.
Yeah.
And
To
so
have your,
it doesn't,
they're
it
French
doesn't make
by.
any sense. So
They're
I
French.
don't know.
It makes perfect sense.
Their
France.
calendar must be different.
Yeah.
So
well,
next year, either it's going to be spring, late spring of next year, or it's going to be late spring of this year, depending on which 2022 you're looking at. 2023.
Well, I can tell you that I am very upset about this. I was patiently awaiting Roller Champions, and I'm pissed.
Yeah,
so thanks for ruining
we'll
my
see.
night.
I was more interested to see the physics, how they got roller skates to look realistic.
Of course
hey, Don. I was, because that's hard to do in an engine. It's hard to do and make it, they have a hard enough time with bikes and with motorcycles and things like that. Rollerblades on your feet, when some games can barely get you to walk and look like your feet are attached to the ground, if they're going to do rollerblades, I'm interested to see it. So I'm kind of curious we had an opportunity to play it. We walked by the booth. We didn't play because it was really rough at that time. But I did see them having a booth at one of the conventions we went to.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So those are a couple of the delays. We'll have all those links on our website, infectionpodcast.com.
Hey, do you want to talk? You were mentioning crypto. Do you want to talk about crypto and what's been happening
I'd love
lately
to.
with it?
I love a big fan of crypto.
All right. So, of course, all these games are trying to adopt crypto, and there's a game where
Hold on.
It's
Stop.
like a digital.
I need to cut
Yes.
you off. Not all of these games are trying to adopt crypto. A lot of games are trying to grift on crypto.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. They are. So this is Axie Affinity, and you have these little monsters. Well, crypto thieves ended up robbing it of $617 million
This game
from
had
them. So
$600 million in crypto.
$617 million in crypto
Huh.
that they took. So
Oh, look at this.
that's just
Whoa.
they're breeding monsters and eggs. Yes, the usual. Having babies.
Huh.
There you go. So and to think 617 million out of that game. And another one where attackers have been targeting some of the Discord bots. So they're getting the Discord bots, the NFT specific Discord bots. So the most popular ones people are using for NFT servers, they're hacking those bots and then stealing cryptocurrency from people. So the people that are in the various Discord communities are saying, hey, don't mint anything from any Discord right now. Don't do anything on Discord. It has to do with crypto.
Doesn't this have to do with improper implementation if this stuff is allowed? I mean, I thought one of the whole things and I know there's a lot of people that know a whole hell of a lot more than I do, so I will fully admit that. But I thought one of the big advantages of crypto was the security aspect of it and the ability in which it was very hard to spoof and do things of that nature. And it just seems like with this mad rush that we're seeing, it is not being implemented properly, and it is allowing the same. It seems like it's going against some of the basic principles of what it is, just because it's not being implemented. They're rushing.
Yeah, the issue is people are implementing bank level technology that's supposed to have bank level security, and they're running them for little games and
Discord chat
fun apps on their phones and Discord chat bots, and they're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars in these silly little
hold on,
things.
Brian.
I
I do all of my
away.
banking. Hold on a second. I do all of my banking through Discord. My bank has got a Discord channel. When I want to check my balance, I go in there. I just type in the chat. Some person gets back to me. They ask for the
point balance.
Yeah, they ask for the last four of my social in the public Discord chat. I give it to them, and there's no problem. I always get my balance. So I don't know why you're saying that Discord isn't a good thing for that.
So yeah, this is. I mean, I started my career in banking. I managed networks for a bank chain. That's how I started, and just from then to now, the security level change is incredible. And so that's the problem: is these people are coding these things and not doing all the code reviews and all the things to make sure that all of these basic hacks are not going to happen. And they're building them on other people's technologies as well, usually. And so if that technology gets hacked, also you're dealing with the public. So if you can trick a person who's even any kind of a manager in any server, then you could get access. It's just you're not dealing with people that are trained to think like a banker, think like a network security engineer. You're dealing with people that think, oh, this is fun, but then they end up somehow accumulating hundreds of millions of dollars doing this fun thing. I just think it's kind of a mess, and it's going to keep happening, and they're going to have to figure out how do we handle crypto without putting everybody's money at risk. Because if you don't have good security, that's why I don't really like crypto that much, because it's too easy to lose everything. It's like waving your bank card around all the time and yelling your PIN out. It's out there on the internet, and if with things like this happening, if people who don't secure all their accounts and don't take all the proper steps, they're going to grift off those people, as you said earlier. They're just grifting off all these people, getting all of this money, and people are stealing it from each other. It's just it's a mess. It's the Wild West of currency, is what it really is.
Yeah, total grift.
Yeah,
and again,
so it's going to keep happening until the standards are set and people treat it like real money.
There are standards, but I think, and you touched on something interesting. You said code review. Of course, there's not code review, Brian. A lot of these projects are just one or two guys that met each other online and
don't know all the proper coding techniques for highly secure portals and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that that you have to be a seasoned engineer to really do right and to know all the possible problems. Well, these guys are people that, code for a job or, do stuff like what I do. And they aren't treating it like, hey, I need to figure out how to do it at this level. They're just saying, let's make this work. All right. Oh, we got it working. Cool. Now let's add this to it. That's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like how we made Hangout Canopy back in the day. It was, we just kind of pieced it together saying, hey, this would be a cool feature. Let's add this to it. And you build something from it. A lot of these apps and things have probably kind of accumulated like that, and they're not built right. They're not built secure, especially
Exactly.
Discord bots.
Yeah, I don't even. That's like saying that you did your banking via IRC back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, we did a lot of things via IRC, but that wasn't one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, borrowing files and things, but yeah, telebanking via an MIRC bot is not the most secure thing in the world.
Yeah. So if you're into this, I was actually talking to a coworker this morning, and he's really into cryptocurrency, and he is just so depressed right now. He's like, I have lost so much money. It's just like, well, and what's one of the other coworkers was like, well, I recommended you invest in dollars, and he was like, hey, I wish I would listen to you.
At this point, I recommend you invest in
who knows what now?
Commodities. Get in the commodities market. That's where the money's to be made right now.
Yeah.
Commodities are where it's at. All right. No, this is not financial advice. Don't listen to us.
All right. So before we run out of time, I do want to talk about that Twitch. There's a thing that happened at Twitch here recently.
Yeah. Did this happen today? No. I'm sorry. This is a different story. No, go ahead. This is a different one. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this happened 5 days ago.
Okay.
But they've been adding these features to Twitch. Where, like, for instance, channel boosts. They added channel boosts, and then after people paid, they were able to get porn on the front page of Twitch, because I guess you can channel boost to make that happen, where you can get something up, and then they got a channel to go up there that had just porn playing. So all these people, and you got to think, these are kids. I'd be pissed.
It's blurred out, but yeah, you can see real magic.
In this one, yeah.
Real Magic playing GTA 5, promoted by the streamers community. And it's a girl with her breasts exposed.
Yeah, so they got onto the front
look
page.
At this. Hold on a second. Let's just look at the Twitch front page. The top thing is a guy playing the drums.
Yeah.
A couple of video games and some boobs. I mean, isn't this is what Twitch is, though? Let's be perfectly clear.
Right? I mean, this is how the internet started, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Wow.
But so so they've disabled the feature. I'm not sure if they've re-enabled yet. This I'm reading, from 5 days ago, and I'm not seeing an update here, but they disabled it because obviously people realized, whoa, if you cheer enough, or if you do enough boosting, you can get anything on the front page, which I'm sure they like the short terms. This is Twitch thinking here, but they got to think of
But
this
here's the thing.
trouble, so they're going to redo that.
There's always going to be an issue with this. I mean, anytime you allow, look at when was it during Mountain Dew back in the day? It was like, oh, name our next Mountain Dew, and it was like some Holocaust joke or something like that became that won the name, and of course Mountain Dew's like, no, we're obviously not going to name our next flavor that. I mean, it's when you allow the internet to run amok, which is what this is, and what these online naming contests are, where things get named these ridiculous things. This is what happens.
Yeah.
You can thank 4chan and Reddit.
Yep. And so I don't know. The Twitch has got things to figure out, because they keep pushing back. They have this kind of fluctuation between pushing back against the female streamers that like to show. There's so many things you can't even say. A thought, whatever. But they've been pushing back on that a little bit, but then, and they act like they have morals, but then they'll let all kinds of other things on the network. I just don't think they know where to draw the line, because they don't really have like a moral line. They don't really have a standards line. Well, like what's their line of they're supposed to follow?
Yeah, and that is that is precisely, and I'm dealing with a little bit of this in my work as well, Brian. And I don't want to get too much into it. It's not me personally, but it's the company I work for. And you touched on something important. You're talking about morals, and that is precisely
Yeah.
the problem. Is these companies, while they say that they are morally just and can justify their actions by saying we're moral and just, you can look at example after example after example of them profiting off of the same thing that that is not moral and just based on their cause or whatever, that they are benefiting hugely from.
Yeah, and I just think that Twitch has got to figure it out on their end. Where is this line? Because why are boobs okay over here, but they're not okay over here? Where they'll, and if you really ask Twitch, probably to their core, they would say, "Oh, we think women should be able to show their boobs if they want to because of equal rights and all this." Well, I don't think they will have a line. I think they're just trying to stop stuff that's going to get them in trouble, but they don't really care what goes on the network.
No, they don't.
Unless it's hateful. If it's hateful, they don't want it on there. But if it's boobs and anything sexual, I think if they had their choice and they knew that they wouldn't get just reamed, and it will because it's Amazon when you really boil down to it. Yeah, I mean, I think they would show anything. The people that are running Twitch. I'm not saying Amazon. I just think Amazon lets this thing run, and I think we got people running amok at Twitch. They'll let anything go that.
And
regardless of morals,
from a business aspect, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It is the stuff you're talking about when you look at sites like OnlyFans and other things. They're incredibly popular. I'm not saying that Twitch needs to become a porn website, but
just
I
age
think
gate it.
Well, you can age gate it, but I think the biggest problem I'm seeing here, and it's not really of a problem, but just my observation, is I think Twitch is kind of irrelevant now. I mean, I think the days of if you're live streaming on the internet, anything gaming wise, it needs to be over on Twitch. Brian, I follow a couple of people that are, they're not game streamers. One guy's a weather guy, and the other guy's a programming guy. And I followed them for, just kind of passively for a couple of years. I tune in whenever, there's something relevant that I want to listen to. And for years, those guys were on Twitch. But both of them have moved their services over to YouTube for their streaming platform. Now, I don't know if that's because of, I don't know what the reason is, but, one of the guys, and I was watching him before we got on here, does and I'm sure you're really surprised I watched this. He does like a weather live stream, and kind of, comments on what's going on. He's live right now on YouTube. Literally, this is what he's doing. He's literally showing pictures of weather radars. Brian, there's 20,000 people watching this on YouTube right now. 20,000 people.
That's crazy. That's the thing. You got to find your niche. And I think YouTube's finally getting audiences. Because remember, YouTube really struggled to get
the YouTube
live
Live
audiences.
is freaking terrible.
Well, I mean, I was one of the first people making apps. My friend and I that made Hangout Canopy, we were one of the first people making apps for YouTube Live. We made all of the transcription and all the ASL type of apps that they have for it. We made those. There was barely anybody using it early on. It was a very small service, and it's really grown. So I think that now you see a lot of people figuring out how to use the communities and get people to actually fund them. And I think there's better funding options on YouTube than there are here on Twitch.
And and the other key thing to note too is there are alternative funding options. So you can use any platform you want and use things like Stream Elements or Streamlabs or all of these various donation websites. So you don't need to be locked into the Twitch ecosystem. What Twitch is essentially just turned into is when Twitch first kind of became what it was, they had all of it. They allowed monetization. You could run ads. You could make money. There was a community aspect of it, the chat. But all of that has kind of been picked off into these smaller services where Twitch is essentially just a regular CDN now. I don't think their directory service is all that great. I don't think their recommendations are any good. YouTube has really picked up their recommendations over the past couple of months, at least in my vantage point. YouTube is serving me a lot of recommended content that I actually want to watch, which I've very much appreciated. And Twitch is really, at this point, nothing more than just a CDN. And when you're just a CDN, people will choose elsewhere. They'll go over to YouTube. They'll go to some of these other platforms like Odyssey and do their live streaming over there, or go to some of these more obscure platforms like Vaughn TV or some of these other live streaming sites. They don't need to stay on Twitch.
Yeah, and I think we've been seeing a lot of the big names move, and I think a lot of it comes down
Well,
to
they're banning them.
well,
What about
yeah,
Destiny?
there's
Destiny got
drama.
banned. Destiny got banned for Twitch for some stupid bullshit that went on. They're banning people left and right. Yet the person that threatens to blow up Twitch, threatens to go commit a mass shooting at Twitch, gets their appeal revoked, or rather their ban revoked. They get put back on the platform, and then they kill themselves. So it's like, what is going on here? It's a very odd platform right now.
Yeah, and I think that it's prime for something else coming in, because I don't know of a lot of people that are really sitting and just watching Twitch. I mean, there's people that go watch Twitch for certain shows, that go watch Twitch for certain people, but I don't see the people really surfing Twitch like they used to. I just think it's kind of dying away a little bit. And if you look, Twitch, the cuts that they take and the cheers and all that, it's not very good for the person producing content. And over at YouTube, I think they give them better subscription options and ways to where the person creating the content actually gets a bigger part of the cut. I think that makes a big difference to people when that's how you're making your money. And if it's a difference between 20%, that matters.
J-Rock says the only reason I come to Twitch is to watch the show. Well, thank you, J-Rock. We appreciate that. I just went to the Twitch browse page, and the top category, of course, is just chatting. And the top streamer right now, Brian, is actually, I believe it's a Spanish cooking show that's got 40,000 people watching it. That is the top in the most chatting category on Twitch right now. It's live. It's not like it's not a pre-recorded show. It's a live cooking show. These guys are cooking as we speak, but as you can see from the graphics, it is not English. So maybe that's playing into it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe other countries are using Twitch more. I just think in America, we're going to YouTube, and, and it works. And I think that they've been less politicky of talking about it. Whatever they do in the back end is them. But I think they've been less in your face about anything with politics lately, and just been trying to be quiet. Because at first they started banning Trump and doing all this stuff. I think for the last year, it seems like they've kind of shut up, and you don't see YouTube talking politics. Politics happens on YouTube. Some bannings happen here and there, but it seems like they're much less vocal. Because I remember years ago they had somebody in charge of YouTube who would talk a lot. And seemed to get them in a lot of trouble.
She's still there.
Is she still there? Well, she's been quiet.
Whatever her name is, Susan Wachowski or whatever. Yeah.
Seems like she's quit talking lately.
Well, of course,
so,
you piss off everybody, and
nobody.
Yeah, you just piss off everybody, and that's what happens. So yeah, I'm not. I just don't. I don't think Twitch is a skeleton of what it was. Even 5 or 6 years ago, where it was the platform, and even for myself, you would just go to the Twitch website.
You knew every major streamer was there.
Yeah, and I will be honest with you,
they wouldn't be anywhere else. So I
don't use Twitch outside of this show. I don't watch anything on Twitch at all. Nothing.
I don't
literally
I don't,
nothing.
Yeah, I don't either. So I don't even. Yeah, and that's the thing is I've tried opening up the page, and it's just like the people that I used to watch aren't on Twitch anymore, and the games that I used to watch, well, some of them aren't on Twitch anymore. And it's just like, okay, well, I'm not going to go surfing. If anything, I'd maybe go look some Unreal Engine people working in the new Unreal Engine 5 or something. Go watch them. That's probably about it. Wouldn't be watching games on there.
Yeah. Well, pour one out for Twitch. Darn.
Yeah. Yeah, we will see. We will see what happens. So we'll see if they figure that out and bring it back. Do you want to end up? Yeah, we have time for maybe one or two more.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes. I want to talk about GTA. GTA has been out for literally a decade at this point. 10 years, GTA 5. And they are still, Brian, marketing the living crap out of GTA 5 and some of its services. I saw a commercial during, what was it that I was watching? It was a major sporting event. I think it was Saturday night when I was watching Duke and UNC play in the NCAA tournament in the Final Four, which is, by the way, the second largest televised audience for a NCAA Final Four game. And I'm sitting there. I got my girlfriend's over, a couple of friends over watching it, and I'm sitting next to my buddy Sam. And we're talking, and then we both look up, and there's a freaking Grand Theft Auto commercial on TV, and I'm like, what is this, 2013? But they are advertising and rolling out a new monthly subscription service called GTA Plus. That went live a couple of days ago. Went live
I think it was like 11. Actually, it was a week. Yeah, a week ago.
Yeah.
We just
So
covered it last week.
it went live a week ago, and they are offering this service, which is available on the PS5 and Xbox Series X/S, and it's an online membership program, and it gives you various in-game bonuses and perks.
Yeah, money, access to special vehicle upgrades. Discounts on the things in game.
It's $6 a month, so it's relatively inexpensive, I guess, compared to other services. But I am just absolutely dumbfounded, Brian, how they have been able to continue to profit off of a decades-old game and profit off of it handsomely. They're not just
they're doing
trickling in some cash. They are raking in dollars with this game. And it just goes to show you age doesn't matter. Technology doesn't matter. Gameplay is what matters. When you really break it down, content and gameplay is what matters.
Yep.
And that's why GTA has been so successful. I was beside myself when I saw the commercial. I was like, holy shit, I cannot believe that I'm seeing in primetime basketball a freaking Grand Theft Auto commercial. I mean, it was it's insane for a 10-year-old game.
Well, and look, J-Rock in chat, he says, I've spent way too much money on GTA 5. This is the perfect thing for that type of player, because this is for the because there's a lot of people that play it religiously and they buy those shark cards and they put money into it. This is the kind of thing, it's like a season pass for those players, where on games, there's games that I have where I'm like, I wish I had a season pass, because I would then put money into it. Because if I put money into it without a season pass, I know I'll put way more money than I want to. But if you put a season pass in there, I'll trickle you money throughout the year so that I know how much I end up spending. That's the perfect, because people will just keep this going. So they get the 500,000, GTA bucks to their bank account every month, and all the different things that they do. This is the way to keep this game going. Plus, they're splitting off GTA Online, to its own client, so it's not reliant on the main game. They can start doing updates to it and integrating things from the new GTA when it comes out, and make this whole side world that's online that they can keep making money on, regardless of what version GTA is on. They're doing the same thing with Red Dead. They did.
It was estimated that in 2020, that's a couple of years ago, but it was on average, it was estimated that GTA 5, which we'll throw GTA Online into that, makes roughly $911 million a year, and the game has made over $9 billion since it came out.
Yeah. Yeah. And and they're getting ready to release another one. And so they can keep this side money trickling in, get people paying subscriptions, and then you'll get perks in the new game that you also purchase and play for the next 10 years. And this one, I'm really excited because they always push the technology. They push the limits, and they do things in their games that just other games aren't doing yet.
Well,
because the problem is you're comparing GTA 5 now to games that have been out for 10 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's the problem.
Well, and it was expensive when they made it. I mean, they spent I think they spent like $300 million developing the game, which was for the time. By the way, they don't even spend $300 million making movies. Like, you're talking about an unbelievable budget for a property, but they're making nearly, just looking at this, they're making about $3 million a day in profit on the game. Still, 11 years later, actually.
10-year code base has started 10 years ago, or more, probably 12 years ago.
Yeah,
more. So it's just crazy, and so this is them capitalizing on that and allowing that current population to not have their version of the game die out. Because what happens when you put out a new version? What's going to happen to all these GTA 5 people? You're going to lose a big part of your audience. If you can funnel them off into their own individual app, the fact that GTA 6 comes out will have no effect on this audience now, because people won't feel like they have to leave GTA 5 go to GTA 6, they have GTA Online, and then they have the local, the other one that they're playing, which will be GTA 6.
Yeah.
It's very smart. I mean, Rockstar they are way ahead usually. They're very, very smart because the way how edgy they make their games, especially now, if they make a game that's edgy, when people can't make edgy games anymore, people are going to buy that up like crazy. Because people are tired of it. And I think that when a game comes out that doesn't have to follow the rules and can say edgy jokes and can make fun of everybody equally, which is what they've always done, if it comes out with that same mentality, I think it'll be really popular. If there's any change to where they're scaling back and trying to make it more sensitive for anybody, I think it's going to kill the brand. This next version, I think, will make a big difference. But at least they can kind of keep their side thing going, make their game. If that game tanks, they still don't lose all their GTA Online people, which is bringing them in lots of money. I just think they're separating other companies a little bit and getting it to where versions, when they come out, did they expect 10 years later people still be playing this game when they made it? I doubt it. I don't think they counted on it. I don't think they expected it. It's not your plans.
No, not at all. Exactly. You expect some sort of life from a game like GTA, but and again, what does it come down to? Good content and good gameplay. That's why people are playing it.
And them knowing the market and capitalizing on letting people play the game and letting people mod it enough to do crazy things with it and really enjoy it. I mean, they gave enough people enough flexibility to make cool things, get people hooked on the game. But still, they control it enough to where it's not crazy.
And maybe this crazy concept, Brian, and I understand this crazy concept of giving the audience and the players, aka the customers, what they want. I know, crazy thought, but give them what they want and they will come and you will make $9 billion off of a game.
I mean, that's old school thinking. I mean,
exactly.
That's what they want anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they don't know what's good for them. If you haven't figured that out.
Yeah, Twitch knows what's good for you. Good stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're about at that time here, Brian, where we round out the program. Where can people find you on the internet?
All right. Well, first of all, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, and various places on the internet, you can do that. Or you can go to biteuptech.com. And I'll have links to various places that I'm available and ways to contact me. If you want to go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, I encourage you to go join our Discord server first because we have a place where you can submit news topics. If there's a topic or a game, something we should be covering that we're missing, or some insight that you want to give, put it in the news channel. Also, you can contact Nick and I through there. If you want to watch the video forms, we have Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive available. The audio forms at the lower right-hand side for whatever kind of podcatcher device you have, even desktop-based apps. A lot of them will work there at the lower right-hand side, but those are all uploaded after the fact, so none of those work live. If you are going to be listening after the fact, we'll have uploaded the show notes for that particular episode, so you can click on that episode. There's a built-in video player, audio player, and also links for each topic and source that we go and refer to for this episode. So if you're going to do that, really will help if you're listening to be able to watch videos, a lot of useful things and things that are very graphic intensive, especially when you're showing things for Unreal Engine 5 and things like that. If you want to support us, we have infectionpodcast.com/support, where Prime Gaming subs, Humble Bundle, Subscribe Star, a lot of ways that you can support the show, and we appreciate those that do.
Absolutely. Appreciate those who do. And Brian, appreciate you. Thanks for all that you do. And we will be back here next Tuesday for another episode.
Yep. See you again soon.
Alrighty. Thanks, Brian. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on this episode 377 of Infection, the Survival Podcast. If you want to check me out online, you can do so by visiting my website, both nickcraig.com and nickcraig.net, and download the Wilmington's Morning News Podcast each and every weekday. 3 days of local, statewide, and national politics delivered 3 hours a day. If you missed any portion of this program, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.